Hi, hello, this is Canister Risk, and welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 39. Today we're switching things up, if you know what I mean. I'm one of your hosts, Canister Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, Zach Risk.
Switch.
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll have to come up with something catchy.
Yeah.
But no, today I don't know if you've been in the know, if you've been checking the Twitters with the DDoS attacks happening. Maybe you can't get on Twitter right now, or Netflix or Spotify or all of that. But Nintendo has officially unveiled what the NX, the Nintendo NX is, and it is called the Nintendo Switch. And it is exactly what we expected, and yet at the same time, it's nothing we expected at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know what I
Although I want to say, there's been those people that have been dissing the Eurogamer report that we reported on, and some people were like, I can't believe you guys, this is all just rumors and speculation, and it was proven right. And I think that it was they said their sources were credible. Some people realized it and jumped on it, and we were we knew what this was. I think a lot of people were able to piece these things together.
We never had any doubts in our mind.
Yeah,
that was the whole frustrating part of this whole process, and we'll get to all of it in the details and the nitty-gritty in case you aren't in the know, or in case you saw something but you don't really completely know what the Nintendo Switch is. We'll get into all of that, but basically the rumors have been true for the most part. It is a hybrid. It's mainly, actually, surprisingly more so a home console than a handheld. They even titled it in their preview image, the next generation of Nintendo home console gaming. And it happens to be able to go on the go. But it's not like it's what we kind of thought it was, where it could be a 3DS or, a Vita that beams up to your TV. It's more of a TV that beams down to your portable tablet. And so that was a little bit of maybe...
That's not necessarily true because...
Well, we'll get to that. We'll talk about specs and what it is and all that. Okay. But the other thing I want to do a little disclaimer at the start is, first and foremost, we are a Nintendo podcast. We post each and every week on youtube.com/Koppai Gaming, as well as podcast services as Koppai Podcast. And if you know how to make it so we show up when people search for Nintendo, please let us know down in the comments, or tweet at us at Koppai Gaming, or email us kopaipodcast@gmail.com. Those are also the ways you can just contact us for any other questions or concerns. I searched today just for top Nintendo podcasts, and we're not even listed as Nintendo podcasts on some of these blogs and Reddits and subreddits and all that. And so I'm trying to find a way to get the RSS feed to do that. Until then, just go ahead and search for Koppai Podcast. And there's some weeks that we aren't able exactly to stick to the, every once a week schedule, because Zach and I do have schooling and jobs and works and responsibilities and all of that. And so sometimes life happens. And so we do have a lost episode out there right now that will be posted soon. It'll be titled 38. It may actually go up after 39 just because it's using an old style of software and hardware that I used to have. And so that's just been a difficult transition. But so those are all the disclaimers out there. But we post each and every week as a Nintendo podcast. Normally we have these segments that we used to do, but we're trying a new thing where we just go straight into the topic of the show and have a more topical podcast that focuses on one. And we'll sprinkle in the news, and we'll talk about the news. Some Pokemon stuff has happened this week. There's a new demo up that Zach has had a lot of time to play with. I haven't had a chance to completely start it yet because I've had a busy week myself. And so we're going to have all sorts of discussion. But today is primarily the Nintendo Switch. And so without further ado, Zach.
Yeah.
Earlier this week, you and I are in a huff and a tuff about Civilization 6, Red Dead Redemption 2, the presidential debate, the final one, the third and final, new episode of South Park. We're freaking out. There is so much happening this week. And all of a sudden, Mario peeks out from behind a shower curtain and is like, yo, I got something in the shower and I got to show you it. And we're like, oh, doctor, it's the Nintendo NX. And Bill Trendon's tweeting out tomorrow's going to be a good morning.
Oh, my gosh.
And Emily Rogers is out there I know everything. And we're like, do you really? We don't know if you really do or not, because you may have just been tweeting that because Bill tweeted something. But basically they start teasing the Nintendo NX reveal. Yeah. And I think they would say, we're going to talk about the NX tomorrow. They called it the NX in that tweet. And then the next morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, super early in the morning, right when my workday started, they released a nice little 3-minute video, very well done video on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah. Lots of millennials having a grand old time with this thing.
It was very console trailer announcement sort of thing. Something you'd see at like E3. It seemed kind of universally console launch trailer, you know?
Yeah, the thing is, though, I do have to give them credit. It's much better than their Wii U trailer. I sent you a link to that today. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. But someone on Reddit had posted, like, let's look back on the Wii U trailer. And the Wii U trailer was like this shaky camera walking into someone's bedroom. Yeah. And they were like having it on the table, and it's like, look at this new controller by Nintendo. And someone switches on like football on the TV, and they're like, with the new controller, you can play out the TV. And it's like, was not clear at all what in the world's going on. And it didn't look cool or professional. This from the get-go was like, this guy's playing the new Zelda, and he has a new controller and a completely new console, and it was all, the music was on point. It's been stuck in my head.
It so slick and modern. Well, what it really reminded me of is kind of just how Sony's been for the past couple of years, and they've been really nailing it in terms of like their marketing and their design, and everything's been really on point, and even a bit of like the Apple sort of advertising slickness and stuff. It just seemed kind of on par with like the reveal and stuff that Sony's been doing.
All these bonus shots where it's like, let's get a shot of like, you know, the reflection of the TV in his eyeballs. Ooh.
Well, and kind of how Sony also sort of appeals to that millennial sort of generation a lot more. And it seems like, and then putting Skyrim in the trailer and all that, it's just like, those are the kinds of experiences like, we have this kind of separate thing where Nintendo's on the side, and then there's the PlayStation, but this is kind of bringing a bit of that together, which is just really promising to see. And really cool. And so,
it's insane. I mean, they showed exactly what everyone wanted to see.
Yeah, I was seriously, I seriously had some tears. I was like getting choked up at the end because I was like, man, I just was kind of not even just about the trailer itself, but I started thinking about how it's been so long, and like they did it right, and it seems promising, and like here we are, a new cycle, and just like an overwhelming feeling of like all these, like, here we are, and like they've done it. They did it this year. It's still coming out in March. Like,
yeah, they even put that at the end. It wasn't coming 2017. It wasn't coming soon. It was like, we're nailing March. Let's real quick, I think, because you're over here, you're talking about how you're crying about how awesome it is.
Yeah.
I think let's just take a moment to just go through and just kind of list off what they did do well in the initial trailer, and we'll get to later, like, maybe stuff that's been outside the trailer, stuff that's been revealed, you know, through press releases and interviews after the fact. But the initial trailer, I mean, we talk about how they did everything right. They had, as you said, they had Skyrim in there, so they appealed to that audience that's just going to want to get lost in an adventure, but take it on the go. They did have Zelda, because people are, I mean, I think it's a little, I don't know, unfair for, what's the word here? Because people keep saying, like, oh man, I would have bought the Wii U if they would have had Zelda on it. But then you look at Zelda sales, and it doesn't nearly sell like as much as people say they would have bought it, you know?
Yeah. Same with Metroid and stuff.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, would you guys really have bought it if Zelda would have been on there? Like,
where's our Metroid and F-Zero? Sell like 10,000 copies.
Yeah, like, I mean, sorry to say that, but many people talk about Zelda, but only a handful bought like Skyward Sword compared to New Super Mario Brothers, Wii Sports, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people, too, kind of like with Zelda, they love Zelda, and they like think fondly of their experiences, like maybe with like growing up on the N64 and things like that, but how many of these people are willing to commit to these epic experiences? I think it's a hardcore amount of gamers that are like, you know, the passionate few that actually, I mean, a lot of people do jump on board. Even games like, I think, Skyrim and Fallout and stuff, I think there's those few people that play the first 10 hours and then kind of fall off or rent it. And
I've been kind of digging into that with Destiny lately. Like, Destiny's a huge game, but the people that have done the raid, like I just did the raid, I think last week, I think.
Yeah.
And 3% of people have done it, and it's like the huge crux of the end game. And it's like, 3% of people have the trophy for completing one raid in the game, and there's 4. And it's like, or people like, I think Colin and Greg always talk about with Uncharted, like only 90% of people have the first chapter trophy or whatever, or like
Yeah.
Or like only 60% or something, like some weird number like that, have got the trophy for beating the game on like the easiest difficulty.
Yeah.
And so like, that's just a testament to like people are picking up these games and not even beating them. And so
I think it's always kind of somewhat been like that, because I can just imagine like back in Mario 64 days, I bet a lot of people just ran around the little castle area for, basically
I've
their
never
entire
beat Zelda. I've never beat Metroid. Like I have these games and I probably bought them like 5 times across the 3DS, Wii U,
Yeah.
But I've never beat them.
Yeah.
So people, I thought that was a little funny that like people were like, I'm so glad they showed Zelda at the front. And it's like, I mean, that was good of them and good by them to show that, because they've been promising Zelda, and that will be like a big, maybe not system seller, but it's just something that people are going to be really resonating with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, who's really looking at this? Like the average consumer, like, whoa, no way, it's, Breath of the Wild. And they're probably like, oh, no way, is that like Wind Waker? Okay, cool. But
is that Wind Waker? Well, I do think that that's one of the major points, though, of Nintendo, is like you can only play Zelda on Nintendo, so it's an exclusive title, and a lot of those titles, those titles you can play, like Mario Kart and Splatoon, are only on a Nintendo console. Only like really Skyrim is multi-platform, but then they have that exclusivity of Skyrim you can't really go on an airplane and play Skyrim. You can play on remote play, which that's a really cool thing and a really good factor of, because it's like I was dwelling on that Vita already has remote play, so you can play Skyrim on a portable if you want to.
There'll be no latency with this. There'll be no.
Yeah, it'll be like directly on the system. You won't have to connect through a shoddy Wi-Fi of some like hotel that probably doesn't even work, or whatever you have to do. So
that's
you can
the worst,
actually
trying to put
it.
In your hotel information to like a portable device just to have it like connect.
Well, and one of the things is I was thinking is like, and we've had this discussion before about the gamepad and how like how far around your house that you can go with it before it starts kind of like glitching out. And even the remote play on the Vita, if you're doing just your local remote play on your PS4 kind of local stream like that, you can't really go like across, like if you have multiple stories in your house or like a distance to go, you have to be kind of in that area. And this will be really nice to be able to play around the house without having
it'll be insane. Like it'll be to be able to play Skyrim, like pull out and do like a quick quest. And I'm hoping for Fallout most of all. But just because I gravitate more towards the Fallout series than Elder Scrolls, like, which I think I'm in the minority there, but just Fallout, just kind of, I like that retro style a little bit more. But the idea of going to like one of my settlements in Fallout or doing a quick quest, for good old Preston Garvey, like going out and helping him farm some potatoes and stuff, like just while I'm on a car ride, or if I have to take a commute or something to work, or if I'm at school and I have to stay in the lunch hour and I can just pull out my Nintendo Switch and I don't like just do a quest or something, like that'll just be insane. Like, and not have to worry about any sort of latency issues, and the Wi-Fi connecting if my university has sort of like protective firewalls.
I hope they do.
Or any connections, like all that stuff that I've had to bother with in the past. It'll just be completely. I pull it out and there we go. Which I mean, this isn't like the first portable console in the world, but it's going to be the first one that it seems to have, if a proof of concept in the trailer is in actuality, it'll be the first true console gaming experience on the go, which is what we were always so excited about with the Vita. Like we love our Vitas and we both have a Vita, but we do definitely recognize that it's not complete console gaming on the go. So so they knocked that out of the park with Zelda, showing off Skyrim. Do you think they should have shown? I was wondering myself, because after I think they show Skyrim, it's Mario Kart, Splatoon, and the new Mario game. I guess they do show probably like EA, NBA, 2K or something. They didn't exactly show what game it was, and I'm not, keen on that enough to recognize it. I was going to ask if they should have shown maybe a couple more third-party games to kind of truly show like how much support they have. But I think they actually, now that I think about it, they did good in showing the NBA thing, because it's like
I don't know, because
a first-person shooter would have been nice.
The problem is, I think that I think that they did really good with it. I think that it looks really nice and it looks promising. A lot of people are like, "Wow, it's a really promising idea." But at the same time, a lot of people are still very skeptical after the Wii U and after kind of how the Wii died and how people moved on and just how the market is now. That I think that I don't know, it's kind of tricky because some people that I've noticed are like, I think the die-hard people that have been waiting forever for the NX reveal and to find out what this Switch finally is, it's like we're definitely on board, but a lot of people that haven't been maybe on board entirely that aren't enticed by Breath of the Wild and just aren't into it in general, like that are just, I have my PS4 and I'm not too into even Nintendo IP or Nintendo in general. I don't know if it like won over people that are, like not already into Nintendo. Like it seems kind of just catering a bit to that audience. And it seems like it'll be really good. Like it seems just so perfect for like families and car rides and one of those like when you're in the car and you'd want one of those little TVs in the back seat on long trips to watch something, or now you can like play Mario Kart easily, and it seems kind of have that GameCube portability to it, which will be just really nice because, especially for esports and stuff. And so, I don't know. I think that's really like where it's going to be best. I don't think that it's going to be winning over those people that are already really into Nintendo and can now just like take it super portably with them. But I don't know if it's super winning over. Like I think maybe a new IP, if they come out with that really entices people, will get them more of those that aren't convinced entirely yet. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I have some feedback here.
Okay.
First and foremost from Matt. And he says, I've been real skeptical of the whole portable gaming thing that Nintendo has been doing, but this looks awesome. I wonder how you'll buy games. You can't really use a disc with that little screen, in which there's some other replies about the 3DS cartridges and about discussion of SD cards being able to hold up to 40 to 60 gigabytes right now. Very reasonable for massive games on a cartridge. Someone else, Ryan, says, love Nintendo, but I do not think I would invest in the system unless it's for some sort of like, small group or something. Love the fact that it's centered on in-person multiplayer though.
Yeah.
Other people say, Joshua comments and says, I haven't desired to own anything other than Xbox One since release, but this is something that definitely looks promising. And someone else, Steven, says, I'm a little concerned the screen is going to be too large for solid portability, and the D-pad on the left controller has me worried. Other than that, I'm totally in. Just gotta know pricing at this point. And yeah, there are some concerns, because the D-pad is essentially just 4 more buttons.
Yeah, C buttons, basically, from the N64. And yeah, that's what I'm seeing too, is that people are concerned about its size. They're concerned about that it just doesn't seem. It seems like a step up from the Wii U for sure. It seems just kind of like a slicker, nicer
the Alola
Wii U.
edition, or Alola form of the Wii U.
And I don't know. I think it's kind of hard because like we see it such as like fans, like we're totally on board with it. And we're into Nintendo. Like, I think it has to be, like, if you're not already, like, super convinced by what Nintendo's doing with their games, and I do think they need to show a little bit more, and I think that's to come still.
Well, honestly, like, if they would have shown the Wii U 2, and it was basically like, hey, Mario Kart 9 will come to this, Super Mario 3D World 2 will come to this, Splatoon 2, like, if it was just the next iteration of the Wii U, same sort of thing, just higher specs, basically what the PlayStation 4 is to the PlayStation 3. Like, we would still be on board because we just love those Nintendo IPs. Like, those would be enough to sell us. Maybe not exactly right at launch, but we would be on board. We would be excited to figure out what the next generation Nintendo is. The fact that there's complete, total redefinition of gaming and, innovation as far as being able to take your games on the go by just snapping controllers on the side. That's a nice bonus for us as Nintendo fans. But for a lot of people, yeah, like you said, if you already own one of these next-gen consoles and you're not a fan of Nintendo IP, why go over? And I think, we've had that argument in the past, with Xbox One. Like, you and I are kind of eyeballing Xbox One because they're doing lots of cool things, with backwards compatibility, with mod support, with a cheaper console, like when with the bundle that the Xbox has, and you basically get the console for like $200 and you get a ton of games and a controller for like the extra 100, and then it's $300 for a whole brand new like Microsoft package, basically. Like awesome deal, awesome stuff. But at the same time, it's like most of these games are on my PlayStation though, and I'm not hugely invested in Gears of War or Halo, so there's really no reason to go over there. And a lot of people are in that same boat where it's like, I would like to go over to Nintendo, but I'm not hugely invested in Mario or Zelda, which to me is like absurd. But for some people, they're out there. And other people are looking at me like, how are you not super invested in Gears of War? And I'm like, I've never played it. Like, I just don't know.
Well,
and
it's one of those.
So I get that, but at the same time, like, you don't need to get it then.
Yeah. Well, it's one of. I think that like, if they would have maybe shown that 3DS carts work on it. Any sort of backwards compatibility is like a huge seller. I think one of the big disappointments for people might be that there's no backwards compatibility between Wii U or 3DS with this thing, and it's kind of starting fresh, completely over. Because that's one of the complaints I heard. It's like it doesn't work with the Wii U and the like at all. Like you can't play all those games. It's like I guess it's fine for me because I already have it and I have those games. Like if they re-release Yoshi's Woolly World again on that, I'm probably not gonna get it. But I probably will get Mario Kart Switch or whatever they call it on the Switch. But like that's a big thing that they could have, if they would have shown that the 3DS works on there, that would have been such a, like, then I think they would have had investors and people a lot more excited about it right off the bat instead of being a little more skeptical and just any sort of backwards compatibility like that. So
in the trailer, I wish they would have shown. Well, I mean, I guess I wish they would have shown backwards compatibility. Turns out they can't show it because it's not a thing. It's not backwards compatible. They've confirmed that. I believe.
Oh, and I was also going to mention Pokemon. They need to use Pokemon because we've seen how just the Pokemon Go phenomenon and how that just was so crazy.
That would have been nice in the trailer.
That we need to have some confirmation that. Like that's one of the questions I was going to ask is like, is the 3DS going to be dying out soon, or is it has an indefinite life, or because is the next Pokemon going to be on the system? Because I think that'll be a huge system seller because we know Pokemon always sells around in the 30s and 40s of millions of copies, so it could be really beneficial for Nintendo to put that out on their system.
Yeah, real quick. Well, I guess not real quick. This could be a potentially like next sort of topic. But I do have here, now that you mentioned, the games coming to it, we've kind of talked about the third-party support with Skyrim coming in and NBA. There was also, along with the launch of the Nintendo Switch, or not the launch, the reveal, a list or a, quote, sampling of Nintendo partners that have agreed to help out with the launch of or not the launch, but just with the console in general. This varies from developing games for it to supplying software for it with, development kits or software like coding and all of that side of things, like the software hardware side of things, as well as publishing and things of that sort. And so I have here in my personal notes just a list of partners that were said on that little press release that was out, as well as some of the games they are notable for, specifically games that have been published on Nintendo hardware in the past. And so I thought maybe we could go through the list and just quickly highlight some of these so people can kind of understand the context of what that sampling image means. Like, is that actually a big deal, or is this more of the same stuff we have? Because I noticed what was the cool thing about looking through the list of Nintendo partners is that some of these have been around for like since the Wii, and they're games that you've probably never heard of, but Nintendo put them up there because it's like, hey, this makes us look like we have more support. Others are actually super interesting because it's like, I can't find any game they've done with Nintendo in the past. And so I thought we could go through that. First and foremost was 505 Games. They are known for Payday, Payday 2, and Abzu, that just came out.
Okay.
And so Payday I wouldn't be surprised to see, or something like Abzu. I think that's more
I bet Abzu's going to be on it or something.
Yeah. Next up was Activision, which is known for Call of Duty, Destiny, but specifically Skylanders.
Yeah.
And we've gotten confirmation from Nintendo that Amiibo and all, like, so assumingly Amiibo, Lego Dimensions, Skylanders, all of those
This is
will
one of
work.
the things that I think is going to be really good for the Switch is that there's just such a thriving indie scene now, and we see a lot of really good games like maybe Abzu. I thought it was more of an indie game, but it just kind of has that style. But there's those games like Axiom Verge and stuff that don't necessarily work on the 3DS well, and some of those games are even being harder to port to the Vita because of that's power. And so now it's going to be nice to have a good like console experience of indie games that are just portable, you know.
Yeah, and I know it may have been obvious to people, but I was super worried that maybe Amiibo wouldn't be supported beyond the Wii U and 3DS.
Oh no. I mean they're still on shelves.
After Disney Infinity shut down and they stopped doing that, I was like, if Disney couldn't do it, maybe Nintendo's going to pull back with their next console as well.
I mean,
and I was like, what am I going to do with these 50 Amiibo on my shelves?
I do think sales have dramatically dropped for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do. But I mean,
but they are releasing the new Zelda line.
Yeah,
and
they keep releasing new ones, and they seem to be. I mean, there's something different about Nintendo IP and the fanaticism of the fans and wanting to collect figurines and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit beyond even what Disney has. Even though Disney's huge, I think that their fans are very young. You know, there's like
I do want to
little kids. Like there's a market of like adults who are like super passionate in a gaming sense. It's a different way.
Yeah.
You know, in collectibles and stuff.
It's
and
directed at those 35-year-old average gamer that grew up on Nintendo and has the money in the pocket to pre-order and get all these Amiibo.
Yeah.
Kid at Target can only grab, mom will only allow him to grab one Disney Infinity figure. So, plus that Disney Infinity did the problem that, as much people complain about Nintendo, there was this sort of, like, they never really overstocked on Amiibo. But Disney Infinity, the clearance section at my Target would always be filled with extra Infinity figures because they just always had so many extra. Like, there's that balance of making sure you have the supply, but yeah. Next up on the list of Nintendo partners was ABC System Works. I could not find anything that they developed or have worked on. It could be simply like a legal partner or a publishing thing. Let me know if you can find anything on ABC System Works. Next up is Atlas. They're very well known for, Persona, Shin Megami. They just did Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I believe they've done maybe Advance Wars, or have helped out with, Fire Emblem. Actually, I don't know if that's exactly them, but I know they've helped, with, the crossovers and things like that. So, Atlas is a consistent partner with Nintendo. Next up is Bandai Namco. They've done Tekken, Super Smash Brothers they helped out with. They've done Pac-Man. Very prominent name. This one was the interesting one. Bethesda is an official partner, and while they did not actually confirm that Skyrim is coming to the Switch, that's been taken a little bit out of context. Their press release said, "We don't have any games to announce at this time," and people read that as, "Oh, Skyrim's not coming because they're not officially announcing it." But then you found out that every single publisher that was announced to be partnering with Nintendo had the same exact press release as Bethesda. For some reason, people are only highlighting Bethesda's statement because maybe it's just because it's Bethesda. I don't know. But almost word to word, it's the same thing that everyone else released. Nintendo must have said, hey, we need you to release this, that you don't have any games to announce at this time. Like, Nintendo hasn't even officially announced a new Mario, but clearly there's a new Mario coming.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to say Skyrim is coming. I would honestly think that there could be some.
Well, I think that they said that there's no game announcements coming for the rest of the year, and no further specifications. And I think that they kind of stated that this trailer was only going to feature Zelda and wasn't going to announce any games, and so it wasn't really the purpose to announce anything officially yet. But it's just like it was a teaser. They're not officially announcing it, but it's it
was enough
basically
for me.
it was kind of a soft official announcement of it.
Yeah, I think you can rest easy that Skyrim or Elder Scrolls of some sorts is definitely coming soon, if not like at launch, to the Nintendo Switch. Bethesda also has done Fallout, Doom, Dishonored. They have Prey coming out, so a lot of people think that Bethesda's only Elder Scrolls and Fallout, but the publishing of Bethesda also does Doom and Dishonored. Next up is Capcom. They've done Street Fighter, Resident Evil. I think they still own Mega Man, don't they? Or did someone take Mega Man? I'm not completely up to speed on that.
I think they still do, but I don't think they really.
They just do nothing with the name.
Yeah. And also, back to Bethesda, just one little point. Doom was on the SNES, so that'd be pretty crazy if we saw Doom on the Switch.
I would love that. I'd probably pick it up on the Switch just to take it around with me.
Yeah.
An awesome game.
And their controller setup is like perfect now for that. So.
Yeah, and I was also going to say one more thing with Bethesda is that was in recent years a company that hasn't had anything on a Nintendo piece of hardware. As far as I could tell, I couldn't see too much for even back in the Wii days, and so for them to like be very publicly endorsing the Switch, I think is a big deal. Codemasters was one of the other ones that listed. One more thing back to Bethesda. It's going to be so nice and relieving to finally be able to put our like Skyrim Let's Plays and stories and talk about Skyrim and Fallout.
Oh yeah, we talked about that a little bit. It was if Destiny comes out, you'll be so relieved.
Oh yeah, I'll be the Nintendo Destiny expert. Like I'll be able to build. You guys will be in for a wealth of knowledge on Destiny. I know how to do Wrath of the Machine. So get out. That's gonna be awesome if they get that support. We're gonna have Skyrim Let's Plays out the wazoo. Codemasters was the next developer. They're known for the Dirt and Grid racing games. So very cool racing games. Dirt was always really fun. I used to play that a lot. This was just announced today. It wasn't included in the initial sampling image, but Devolver Digital is an official partner. They made Hotline Miami and Broforce. They expressed lots of excitement for the Switch. EA is an obvious partner. They've done basically every sports game ever. Star Wars Battlefront. I believe they helped out with Mass Effect in some way, like publishing it. Excuse me, I almost died. But I think BioWare did Mass Effect, but EA, I think, helped out with it. Let me take a sip of my...
and while you do that, I will make a point because it's kind of interesting that some of these games, it'll be cool to see in the PS4, Xbox One sort of ecosystem. There's like this sort of thing of always being connected, you always have to have an online connection. You always have to, be connected to some sort of server, whether it's like the EA servers or the Ubisoft. And so there's always something, and this one will be totally like offline for the most part. Like it'll have to be. And so it'll be cool to see some of these games and how they might have to make an offline component more so when they're developing for these games.
My fear with that is my hope is that, they'll have Star Wars Battlefront and they'll have an offline mode for the Nintendo Switch. My fear is that the reality will be, hey, Star Wars Battlefront's only online, and since the Nintendo Switch, like you just can't play that on the go with the Nintendo Switch. Like maybe it'll still come to the Switch, but it just won't be able to be played on the go.
I can see that.
Which then takes away the appeal of the Switch altogether.
That game, anyway.
Yeah, for that game. With Destiny, wouldn't be able to be a Switch game on the go.
Yeah, but I would think that hopefully if they did do a Destiny, they'd at least make like the campaign. There'd be some. I would hope they'd make it. You'd be able to play it through single player.
Even in the campaign, like you're still in that MMO styled world.
Yeah, you are, but I mean, just do some sort of tweak. If you're going to release it on the Switch, make it so that you're still just you don't have any of those experiences with other people. Because I don't think is it always necessarily required? I would think
to make a list like for a feature.
Yeah, and it was making me thinking
only online games.
Actually, go through the list. I don't know how many you have left, but
quite a few more, but I'll hustle it up.
Okay.
So From Software was the next one. They've done Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Bloodborne. Obviously, Bloodborne won't come, but we've had Demon Souls and Dark Souls on. Or I think Demon Souls was on the Wii. I don't know if Dark Souls were, but they were. Frozen Byte has done Trine 1, 2, and 3, so I think Trine 1, 2, and 3, or at least 3, will be coming to the Switch. Those games are on Steam. I've seen them on there. I think that's really all they're really known for. Game Trust, the only game I could find from them is Song of the Deep. That just came out.
Yeah. I think that's I think it's a relatively new studio, but it's like a branch off of something like Insomniac or something like that.
They were an official partner along with Frozen Byte. Grasshopper Manufacturer or something has done Lollipop Chainsaw, but the specific one is that they've done No More Heroes 1 and 2 that was released on the Wii. And so those are the only games I could see on Nintendo hardware. Gung Ho did Puzzles and Dragons, as well as the collab with, I think it was the Mario Puzzles and Dragons. Mm-hmm. Another company that was on the list, I can't find it. Let's keep going. We'll add this to the recording. We won't stop at all.
Okay.
But no, so yeah, I had Hamster was the next gaming studio that I couldn't find any information on, and so if you guys can find anything on Hamster Game Studios or Hamster, whatever they are, do that. Sorry about that. I unplugged my mic. The next developer that is partnering with the Nintendo Switch is it Inti Creates or something? Inti Creates or Inti Creates. I'm not too sure what the word is. They've done Azure Striker Gunvolt, which is on the 3DS. Mighty Number 9, Bloodstained is coming out. I believe I don't know if that is PlayStation exclusive. But basically, though, the Kiji Inafune Games is that studio. Koei Tecmo, who did Hyrule Warriors, Neo, and Dynasty Warriors, is coming back to help with the Switch. So probably more Hyrule Warriors, I would assume. I think that was kind of a success for them. Maybe more than their other games in the past. So that's exciting.
They supported it for quite a while, so.
Yeah, without the DLC, so.
And the port.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
Switch.
Hyrule Warrior Switch. You can switch between different heroes. You can already do in the game, so I don't know what. Yeah,
it'll be perfect.
This one was interesting. Konami is listed as an official partner, which they've done like Metal Gear. I think Snake Eater on the 3DS, but beyond that, they haven't done too much Metal Gear on Nintendo hardware. Now they could do some other franchise, but I think
don't they do some like racing games and stuff? I thought.
I looked around. I couldn't find too much beyond Metal Gear that was like super prominent. So maybe they do bring one of those lesser known things, but I only really saw Metal Gear. So if Metal Gear, maybe they bring Metal Gear Survive. That's a big one that's in the upcoming months. I would doubt they would bring Metal Gear Solid 5 over, but I guess that was like a pretty big open world that could be awesome on the go. If that would be the case, I would love to get into the Metal Gear franchise through the Switch,
Yeah. I can see that, yeah.
Level 5 Games, they did Yokai Watch and Lady Layton, no surprise there. Marvelous Games, they did Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons, once again, no surprise. Maximum Games did Farming Simulator, so we'll see what happens there. Parody Bit, this one was funny. Parody Bit is one of the official listed partners, and I had to do some deep research on this. The only place I could find any information was on Giant Bomb's website, and the Parody Bit has done 2 games. The most notable one is Nintendo Pocket Football Club, which was released in 2012 on the Wii. So we'll see what happens there with Parody Bit, whatever they're going to be bringing to the Switch. Platinum Games did Bayonetta, Star Fox Zero, as well as some other games that most likely won't make it to Nintendo hardware, but I'm hoping we see Star Fox again from them. And Platinum Games is just an awesome, awesome studio. Sega, most likely they are bringing Sonic. We know that. Hopefully Sonic Mania makes its way, but that wasn't listed as coming to...
I think it will.
You think it will?
Yeah.
I hope so too. But yeah. Spike Chunsoft did Zero Time Dilemma on the Wii U, and they also did Danganronpa on the Vita and PlayStation and all that. So I would love to see those, Danganronpa games coming to Switch. I hear they're awesome.
Yeah.
Square Enix is known for Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, most likely bringing Dragon Quest to the Switch. That's already been confirmed, actually.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting one,
okay.
Someone that I haven't been able to find really anything with Nintendo in the recent past. Take-Two Interactive, known for Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption, Duke Nukem, Max Payne, and most importantly of all, Civilization. So if they bring Civ, which would be almost impossible.
Yeah.
But no, I doubt Grand Theft Auto's coming. I doubt Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming. That could be possible, but it seems like Take-Two Interactive's focus is on online stuff now with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption. Something like Duke Nukem or Max Payne I could see.
That's interesting that they're even on the list, though. If
they're specifically on that sampling list. So I thought that was super interesting. I'm just excited to see what they bring. I don't know their involvement in publishing other games. Like, these are the ones they develop, or I guess Rockstar develops Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But yeah, Take-Two Interactive, I think they have a pretty broad reach as far as the games they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it may be something like that. But I thought that was super interesting that they're even on the list. And so, there's also the Civilization games that are more mobile. So they could do something with that.
That's true. Well, and you'll get to it, but DNA is on the list too.
Well, I have a quote from them.
Okay.
Telltale Games is the next one. They do Telltale Games, the interactive storytelling stuff. I almost said Wolf of Wall Street. No, Wolf Among Us, The Walking Dead. So they've done. I think every Telltale game is, for the most part, been on the Wii U. So We'll see that there. THQ Nordic did Darksiders and We Sing. So probably bringing those kind of games back. Darksiders was on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Tokyo RPG Factory did I Am Setsuna just recently. So we'll see probably just some RPGs from them, some lesser known ones. TT Games did basically all of the Lego games. They've also become TT Fusion, but they just served the TT logo, so we don't know exactly what one it is. But basically Lego games are coming to the Switch. Ubisoft has done Tom Clancy games, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and Far Cry. Very much so.
Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, Watch Dogs 2 is pretty online, but I wouldn't be surprised if Assassin's Creed came. Tom Clancy games, like there's, Wildlands or Wild something coming out. Maybe the Far Cry games could be very awesome on the Switch. WB Games did Lego Dimensions, the Batman Arkham series, Injustice, Shadow of Mordor, and my favorite, Dying Light. If they bring Dying Light 2 to the Switch, doctor.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I'd be so hyped. Dying Light was like game of the year for me in 2015. Even though it came out in 2014. Did they do that?
They need to bring that to the Switch.
Yeah, they could, yeah. And next up is a list of just software and hardware support, so not necessarily developers. So WWise or WWise, I don't know how you say that. Autodesk, Cryware, DNA has announced that they are officially bringing My Nintendo and helping with the My Nintendo accounts on the Nintendo Switch. I don't think they confirmed game development. I think they're just focused on My Nintendo. Epic Games is bringing Unreal Engine 4. Fmod is bringing software and support. Havoc, Rad Game Tool, Silicon Studio, Ubitus, Unity Engine, and Web Technology are all bringing software and hardware support. So long list of support. Some very, very obvious things that we probably would have seen and would have expected. Others are very, very unique. Overall, lots and lots of support.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is these people aren't going to eventually support the console. These people aren't going to eventually pour into it. They're supporting it like right now. They are ready to go. I believe the guy that did Mutant Mudds and Zeo Drifter, he wanted to do Sonic Mania. I'm blanking on his name. It's like Jewel something. Mutant Mudds, yeah. That studio has already announced that they want to start making the games for it. The people that made Fast Racing Neo tweeted out this morning, and they said that they're ready to make games for it. Some other smaller studios are going at it.
Yeah, definitely.
The guys behind Hive Jump, we interviewed Matt Rathel a while back on the show. They were super excited for it, as you would imagine. And so the internet's freaking out. Developers are freaking out. They're all excited. And even though it seems like a lot of consumers are on the edge of, caution and worry, seems like it's the opposite from developers. They all seem to be like, this is going to be so fun.
And I think that it's really, really promising and kind of cool. I don't know if you can hear the sirens out, but...
Oh, I do hear some.
Something bad's going down, I guess.
I saw an airplane the other day that my wife pointed out. It was like a military airplane. It was like that kind of forest
the
green
ambulance
color.
just drove by.
Maybe they're fixing the internet.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, Twitter's like still down when I last checked. But what was I was gonna say? I think it's cool and it's very hopeful that there's a lot of indie developers that are on board and a lot of major publishers. I guess I shouldn't say it's just indie because there's like some like major names on there of like Bethesda and Square Enix and others. But it's very cool. But I like I've said in previous discussions, I don't think it matters a ton. And like. It's very hopeful for Nintendo, and I think it could get them like inspired. But what I'm most excited for, I think, like to wrap up maybe my feelings about this Switch announcement, is that we're finally like they've been winding down the Wii U for the past like 2 years, obviously like switching all of their resources over to the Switch, and being super quiet. I bet they're so relieved, but like to finally be at the beginning of a new cycle again, it feels like. Even though the Wii U was kind of a failure overall in the long run in hindsight and stuff, I thought it was still a really powerful system in not maybe like in terms of specs, but in terms of like the game catalog and like how much fun I had with it.
Mario Kart 8 looks better than almost anything I've ever seen. Like,
and that feeling at the beginning of getting the Wii U 2, at like the beginning of its, when there was still so much to come, and the same with the 3DS, at the start of Nintendo game console cycles, I think it's like such a fresh and exciting time because Nintendo themselves always seem to step it up at the beginning of their cycles and like really try to put things on the systems that are, unique to the system and fit perfectly on the system, but also like bringing back things and just like they are just so perfect at making it somewhere like in trying to entice you to want to play on their system. I think they tried really hard with the Wii U and it didn't really work out, but they still did a lot of great things with it. And so what I'm really hoping that they like. I was kind of thinking it's really exciting that they can do some innovative experiences, but I don't want to see like hopefully Super Smash. They don't do like Super Smash Switch where it's like there's like two people. You get to choose two fighters now, and you get to like click a button
as long
and
as they
switch.
do have normal mode,
Yeah, as long as they. But yeah, that would be terrible if they like just made it like that's like double
Sakurai
smash.
Wouldn't allow that.
Yeah, well, unless he stepped off the project, because I was just dwelling on this thought, like, what if he hands it over, because he's like, I haven't worked so hard, and like, here's Smash,
he's dead.
And they're like, well, we're gonna make it a double experience, and he's, like,
you just scan in your amiibo and they switch in.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping they don't do stupid gimmicky stuff like that, and just make some great core experiences. I'm really excited to see them actually announce like what the launch lineup is really going to be. What this new Mario looks really cool, and so it seems like if they can stick to and like simple things like just switching between a couple items in the new Mario Kart, that's totally fine. So yeah, I just think it's really exciting to be at the new start. I think that they've hopefully learned their lesson and they won't do some stupid gimmicky stuff like that. And I think also with the limits of having to make every game work on a single screen experience will also really help with kind of like limiting what they can like do. It's not going to be like we're throwing scissors from the gamepad and they're landing on the screen and chopping things. It's those sorts of like WarioWare, the interactive things. Like they can still do touch. That I hear that it has multi-touch, but they will be limited.
We'll talk about that in a second. I was going to add. You kind of briefly mentioned that, we did see some Mario Kart Switch footage, Mario Kart 9 footage, where you have two different items that you can have.
Yeah.
So most likely the gimmick of that game, or the feature of that game, I guess is a better way to phrase it, is that you can switch between two items. So that's already
it was
kind of
cool. I don't know if if it was really noted on. I'd re-look at the items too, but what's kind of cool to think of is like those two items were together, and one did look kind of like smaller, like you switched behind it, but it almost looked like an 8, like the two items together, and it would be really kind of perfect to kind of use the Switch, and the 8 are kind of a switch because you can switch between the two circles. It's like those kind of fit. It's like so perfect.
Well,
Switch.
This will be Mario Kart 9.
I don't think it'll be 9 because I think it's 8. But I think if anything, they would call
No,
it
Mario Kart 8
Switch.
just came on the Wii U though.
I know, but it looks like to be the same exact game just with a few
Oh,
bonuses.
yeah.
So I think it's basically I think that they might not name it. I don't think they would go as far as naming it 9. I think they
Oh, yeah.
might
Well,
not do
I
the
think they'll
8.
name it. Yeah, they'll name it Mario Kart Switch for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that looked awesome. I mean, it is a new game, or at least has DLC because King Boo is in it. He wasn't
And
in
Dry
the
Bones.
previous. Is he in there?
He was spotted in the little track running thing. Like, I don't know if it's
We'll zoom in
completely
like this.
known, but yeah, there was like zooming in. It looks like there's appears to be Dry Bones is also part of the new cast.
And it was confirmed that, or not confirmed, but the Splatoon characters have new hairstyles. So this is a new Splatoon game.
Yep. Mario is in
And
a whole new world, and that's just, it looks like there's some interesting stuff going on there.
And they also did a good job at nailing the esports scene, like that this can be a console that. I mean,
That's
for
what I
those
thought
Smash
was one of the
players,
most promising things about it because CRTs, I mean, GameCubes were super portable and it was a really awesome thing that you could just take those around, but then lugging around CRTs was always such a nuisance and monitors never really worked because there's always this latency issue. And so it's going to be so nice that because people would, the 3DS I feel like wasn't there was never a 3DS Pro controller, there wasn't
Mhm.
something that you could set your 3DS up a little bit away from you as a little TV and then use a controller. So this is a bigger screen, so much more perfect for that. And if they do like Pokemon on it, and you can go to tournaments and set it up, and
And that would be
everybody's playing, I mean,
I'm wondering if they're gonna be
so
able to
many.
sell multiple, controllers and multiple docks. Like that
Mhm.
would be the big thing. Because I mean, Tim Geddes was saying this on Kind of Funny that you have these initial announcements with Nintendo or with any really hardware. Like the Vita was awesome at first, and it's like, hey, by the way, the memory cards they really suck, and this also really sucks, and yada 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 yada. You wonder if they're going to do the same thing with the Switch. It's like, hey, this is really awesome, but by the way, the battery life terrible. This is terrible. You can only have one thing, and if you lose the screen, you have to rebuy all of this other stuff. Like, I mean, that information will come later. I do want to end out with some of the stuff we know, and then go back to those questions of things that we really don't know or want to hear from in the upcoming months. There's no games or specs announcements, but yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. This note comes from Bod8H86 on Reddit, and they basically say that we know that the Nintendo Switch is powered by NVIDIA technology. This may seem like a trivial bit of information, in parentheses, a simple switch from AMD to the competition for the GPU, in parentheses, but actually it may be very important or even critical because, as you may know, NVIDIA manufactures a product that is very similar to the Switch in essence, the NVIDIA Shield, which is basically a tablet with little controllers on the side. I mean, I remember seeing it at, I think, Best Buy or Micro Center the other day. I'm like, that's the NX right there. No way.
Yeah.
From the trailer and this simple comparison with the NVIDIA Shield, technological innovation notwithstanding, we can gather very few interesting bits regarding the Switch. So this is based on the NVIDIA Shield, but these are some specs that we probably are 100% on because it's developed by NVIDIA and it's a
Well,
tablet
didn't you see
controller,
the
kind of.
development kit leak specs
We'll get to that in a
of the
second.
NX? Oh, okay.
So these are the things based on the NVIDIA Shield, and maybe you can confirm it with the specs because I haven't seen those.
Oh, well, I think
Um,
that we should just read the development kit, what the actual NX specs were. Can I pull that up?
are those confirmed? Like,
I think it's basically confirmed what they sent out and like what that Skyrim was running on, and
okay,
let
cool.
me
Yeah, go
see.
ahead and read those
Let
then,
me look at
and I'll see if
where.
this guy has anything else that you don't have, maybe.
Okay. Um, yeah, here it is. It says that we have, let me see, reliable Twitter user NWPlayer123 has apparently learnt of the specifications from the development kits which are in the hands of a number of video game developers right now. Here's what she has learned. There's a 4-ARM Cortex A57 cores, 4-ARM Cortex A57 cores, max 2 gigahertz,
ARM.
NVIDIA's second generation Maxwell architecture, 256 CUDA cores, max 1 gigahertz, and 1024 flops per cycle, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 24 gigabytes a second video RAM share, 32 gigabytes of storage, USB 2.0 and 3.0, 120 by 720 6.2 inch IPS LCD display, 1080p at 60 frames a second, or 4K at 30 frames a second max video output, and capacitance method 10-point multi-touch.
Multi-touch, interesting. So yeah, some other information that we can kind of gather from the NVIDIA Shield as far as the specs for the Nintendo Switch is that the NVIDIA Shield has about 7 hours of battery life, and that it does have a touchscreen as well for general purpose tablet stuff like Netflix, web browsing. The NVIDIA Shield has a large processor or architecture. The speculator here on Reddit says that it may be x86 or ARM. According to the information you have, Zach, it seems like it's leaning towards ARM, similar to PC and other current gen consoles. Which is also important to note with that is that we do have consoles on the horizon that will be way more powerful than what we have now. Does anywhere in the specs you have there, does it say any teraflops information? Those are good measurements of the processing power. You can maybe look around there.
Well, it said that there was 256 CUDA cores, 1,024 flops per cycle. I don't know what that.
Oh, so 1,024 flops would be 1 teraflop.
Yeah.
So here, let me look up real quick flop chart.
I think that's pretty low.
That's very low.
But that's the whole thing, is that I'm saying it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, they'll get their Skyrim on there, it's like their Black Flag on the Wii U, you know, it's like, they'll get that, and I think that Skyrim is a much better sell, especially with like all the DLC and expansion packs than like a Black Flag, because Skyrim is just a much higher quality game, and the replayability of it's just insane on another level. As long as they get that, and then I think Nintendo is just fine on their own with their own solid IP that they make these consoles work. The power and all this does not matter. Compared to other consoles, it doesn't matter, because I already have a PS4. We already have those. Like we've talked about in several, like everybody, I think Nintendo, even with this, is still saying we're kind of going in our own slight direction. We're not doing completely just a new home console. We're doing this. It's a Switch, and it's a handheld. There's a mobile component to it. It's not just going to be sitting on your shelf, so it's got to be less powerful. It's probably like one of the most high-end tablets that there is. You know, instead of comparing it to necessarily a PS4 or the PS4 Pro especially, or a Scorpio coming out, I would say maybe we should compare it to like what's the latest iPad, what's like the highest, you know, mobile, what's the NVIDIA Shield's highest, you know, specs that they have compared to this, and then like, you know, because there's no Skyrim running on an iPad, there's no Skyrim running on Microsoft Surface, so it's powerful enough that, and it'll be powerful enough to make Nintendo games that are prettier than they are on the Wii U. Like, because I think already we can see in the preview of Mario Kart Switch or the new Mario Kart 8 that it looks a lot prettier, I think. And it could just be my eyes fooling me, but it just looked a little bit smoother, it looked a little more polished, and like they could push it a little bit more, a little more anti-aliasing and all those extra things to make it look smoother and more polished. So I think Nintendo's gonna be completely fine power-wise. Like, as long as it could be the same power as the freaking Wii U, as long as it's slicker and skinnier and has this portable compatibility where you can put carts in it and possibility, you know, like,
well,
all
if it's
these
able
things.
to do 4K, it's already more powerful than the Wii U, and so that's already an improvement in itself. My big concern with power, because I mean, obviously I don't care, and I think if you have, you know, let's just take Red Dead Redemption 2 for example. If it's 1080p 60 frames per second on ultra settings on the PS4 and it's medium settings on the Switch, but you can take it on the go, I'd probably lean towards taking it on the go, because I'd love to, I mean, for me personally, I would love to be able to have it at school and on commuting and at breaks on work or when I travel back home, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. That would be that'd be an awesome perk for me. So I'd like to take the hit in power for the sake of portability, where there's a market out there for people that just want to play it at home and have it super nice.
The thing is,
if you're gonna, we've talked about this in the past between PlayStation and PlayStation Pro, like in our own personal conversations, but it's the fact, like, if you really want power, just get a PC. Like, this is about the portability of it.
Well, one of the things with that, though, I think a concern is that people, like developers, I think often don't like for one, there's already like 40 million PlayStation 4s out there, so the install base is already there, and the Switch is going to have to prove a lot because it's kind of the case with the Wii U, like why port my game over to the Wii U when it's not even hardly selling. And so the the Switch will have to be selling really well for a while, or look really promising at least, like it's going to be going somewhere for a developer to want to completely muddy their game down to a portable version. Because I was thinking, like, there's the case with Xenoblade Chronicles or whatever, where they came up with an ingenious method to fit such a huge game into the 3DS, to play on that. And I think it is like a new 3DS exclusive, but even to run it on that hardware, such a limited hardware, but it did take, I think, some like development, like debugging and figuring out how to fit such a massive thing. So if developers are having to have more of a challenge to get their game running just so it can have that portable component, but there's only an install base of 10 million people or so, or however many it does the first year, then it'll be interesting to see, because we'll have to judge by that. But I also go back to what I say, where I really don't think that matters, because then we do have games like Xenoblade that they don't care. They're going to make it so that their huge game can fit on there, and you'll have the open world exploration game in the future.
I didn't even think about Xenoblade on.
So yeah,
on the Switch, like that'll be so fun.
I bet they port that and make it so it's more pretty and all that stuff. So
yeah, well, I mean, and even just the structure of Zelda, being able to go out and cook and being able to go out and do all this and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
It already basically has a Skyrim.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Oh man, Zelda's gonna be great. I keep forgetting that. Like, I'm so focused on hardware and specs sometimes I forget. Like, man, it's just these being able to pick up.
What's crazy is like it has
3D world game. Yes.
It has like a Skyrim. It has Skyrim on it, but then it also has an exclusive Skyrim that you can't play on like any other platform. And I can't think of a Sony game, like Uncharted and Last of Us and stuff. Those are not open world, huge, exclusive exploration games. Like, those are story games that you do somewhat get. You don't get. Naughty Dog is a really great studio at making that kind of thing, so you don't really get those on other platforms, but you do sort of in a way. But those exclusive, like, open world, like, huge massive games, those are big pulls these days, and to have an exclusive one on your system that nobody else has is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think to close out, Nintendo's talked about this in the past, but the NX, or at the time, and now the Switch, is supposed to be an upgrade to mobile gamers. So you pick up Super Mario Run, and then you're in the store, you're playing Super Mario Run as you walk around the aisles, you're following your parents, and you look over and you see Mario on the Switch, and it's like, whoa, I want that. And it's basically a phone, and the mom's like, hey, they don't have to borrow my phone anymore. A little brat kid can just have their own thing. Give them Mario. And so, in that way, this is going to nail it. It's going to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
My big concern with that is if you do want to serve as an upgrade to mobile gamers, you have to make sure the barrier eventually is super easy. And so the next questions we need answered moving forward, which it sounds like we won't get until the end of the year or the start of next year, is we need to know price and launch titles or bundles or whatever that may be. The nice thing is that I was talking to a friend who they want to make sure they're very family minded. They want to make sure they have enough controllers and games to play multiplayer in person. And the fact that this is launching essentially with 2 controllers was a big pull for them. So that'll be really nice, and just that reality of all of it. But yeah, price, I think, is giving the next big thing.
I think one of the really promising things too is just that they didn't delay it. Like, we really didn't want them to delay it, and that would have been a huge blow. And they announced it this month in October, like they should have. It's all still on target to come out in March 2017. So we're gonna.
And
have
the
our new
reason
site
they're
there.
launching it in March is because they want to have their fiscal year ending. They want to have all that money and all that sales at the end of their fiscal year. So at their April financial report, they can say, look how good, 2016 was.
Yeah. So if they get they really need to get those pre-orders out because.
And they need to make sure the launch lineup is, especially in March, like that launch window is ready to go, because if they release it in March, relying on it for the sake of their fiscal year, but then they have nothing to back it up, then people will be like, oh, I'll get it in April, and then that ruins the whole idea of it coming out in March. So I think they're going to have a very confident launch, just like this reveal trailer was very confident. I think they came out just completely swinging, and the big thing I think now is price, because if you want to get a mobile gamer in there and say, hey, this is basically a step up from the mobile games you already have, then it can't be – I mean, obviously it can't be more than $400, which I don't think it would be. The NVIDIA Shield is priced at about $400. Yeah. I'm hoping I think $300 is the cutoff.
That's what I think too.
But I 400 seems to be what
I think 350 is actually like the that's
I think a bundle at 350 is good.
Yeah.
Like include the latest Mario game in there or something. But 300 though is a lot to ask for, I think, for someone that already has a phone, if that's the market they're trying to go towards. So we'll see with that what pricing will be. But yeah, I think it's a good reaction. We're going to go play Civilization 6.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening to Koppai Podcast. Be sure to like and share with all of your friends. If you're listening on iTunes or Podbean or SoundCloud or whatever that case may be sure to leave a review. We have some other reviews that we've read in the past, and so we greatly, greatly appreciate them. It warms our hearts and it helps push us to the front page of iTunes so other people can hear the show. If you're a loyal listener, be sure to let us know how you like this new style, with us talking basically about one thing through the whole show. We were going to talk more about Pokemon, but we'll probably have to postpone that to next week, which will be nice because we probably won't get any other news for the next week, since Nintendo tends to just dump it all out and then they just leave us hanging. So we'll have a nice Pokemon-themed episode next week with the demo and getting closer to the launch of Sun and Moon, which is, I've almost forgot all about that in the midst of the NX Switch reveal. Like, oh man, there's a whole new experience of Pokemon coming in just a few weeks. Like, oh man.
I've been playing the demo a lot. It's been incredible, so.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going to be downloading. I've charged my 3DS. I couldn't find my 3DS charger. Finally found it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I have it all charged up. I'll download that.
Sweet.
If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and share. Leave comments down below with your thoughts on the Switch, what you like, and what developer you're looking forward to, all of those things. And what else do I need to say? Follow us on Twitter at Koppai Gaming. Leave us a tweet there. We'll tweet back. We always do. And until next time,
Switch
Pie! What? You ruined it! I do it every week and you destroyed it! But no, awesome. Well, cool. You go ahead and you edit that and send it over.
All right.
If you want to edit together like the two little spots, and send over one audio thing. Sorry about that. While you do that, I'll put on some pants and go grab Civilization 6 from the mailroom.
Yeah.
And come back and install it, and we'll get lost at war. I'm thinking about being America. You were Rome last time, right?
I think so. We'll have to. I'm gonna check it out because you'll have to give me some time. I'm gonna be like reading each new thing and.
Are we gonna voice chat?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Right.
Oh man, so excited.
Yep. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.